So yesterday here at Broadman Baptist Church, Pastor Rick and we presented a 1 year and a 5 year vision plan to our church. The 5 year vision plan is something that could definitely be tweaked a little bit as we go along, but we spent a lot of time on the 1 year vision plan, and just for the just in case, I know we had some folks out yesterday. So I wanted to do a video specifically on the vision plan of our church, just to walk through it, kind of go through it with you all online, in case you weren't here in person yesterday at Broadman. So with that, let's just go through the 1 year vision plan and what that looks like and kind of what we're thinking. Um, First off, when it comes to a vision plan, I want to make this crystal clear. A vision plan is not a how to guide. It is not something that gives you step by step, here's what you can do to do something. That's not how a vision plan works. A vision plan is something that we use to set goals, to set things that we can strive to, that we can work towards, but it's not something that will tell you how to get there in steps. And really, when it comes to the church itself, you can't really do that anyways, because one, it's not a business with a product that you can manufacture and then you can market. It's just not, it's not that, right? It's now obviously we have the gospel that we want to evangelize, but it's not something like a business route. The other thing too is that in a world that has a sinful nature about it, as we wait for the return of Jesus, that world is just going to get more and more hostile and more opposed to Christ's message and to Christianity. And with that, it's even harder to do like a how to guide. And so, in my mind, you can't really do that. So, the best thing that you can do, though, is set goals, set things that we're striving towards. And that's what we did yesterday, and that's what we're going to look at today. So, I just wanted to kind of go over that and what a vision plan is and what it means for a church in our day and age. So, with that, let's go to step one. Step one. Now, when I say step one, it's basically point one. Again, it's not a how to guide. But the first thing is this: we we want to bring in to the church 5 young families by membership. And there's a couple things here. So first, inviting is important, but this step is only accomplished if they stay and become actual members of the church. Don't get me wrong. Inviting young families to your church, incredibly helpful, and that's the first step of this. Well, first step, and that is that, right? Obviously, we want to invite them. The concept, though, behind this first goal, though, is to actually have them stay and become members of the church. Just inviting them to the church and then maybe they come back a second time, don't think to yourself, okay, well, I did my job. No, that's not what we're looking for. Yes, it's important to invite people, and it's great that they come back. But we want them to stay and become actual members of our church and become involved as well. So that's what we're looking for in that first goal. Now, when it comes to the term young families, here's what I'm thinking. In our minds, young families don't necessarily mean that they have to have children. For example, a young family could be defined as a young couple who is engaged or just married, or a young couple that is married. However, of the five, I we want a majority, 4 out of 5, to have children in the family. Here's my thinking with this. Yes, we want our children's ministry to grow, obviously, right? And so that's why we want a majority of these young families to have children. But I think the young families that just haven't had kids yet, they're incredibly important to have in your church. They really are. There's some awesome, awesome people. And so I want to make sure that we make them feel welcome, that we make them feel a part of Broadman. And so for me, that's why I define them as young families. And then that gets into what young families are. In order to make it clear, young families is defined by the parents or adults ages, which we want to focus on being in the 20s to the 30s, somewhere in that age range. And then finally, events by the church can help. They really can. They can help bring these families into at least a recognition of the church's name. But if our church members aren't actively inviting younger people and younger families to our church, this step will be difficult to do because Pastor Rick, and we're only human. One, we're human beings, right? But we're only two people. And I know in churches in our country, it's easy to assume, and it's easy to think that, well, the pastor and the leadership team will do all the work. Uh, it's easy to think that way, but please don't. We need your help. We really, really do. In order to see this vision plan come to life and succeed, we need your help. And so that goes step one or goal one kind of goes into goal two, which is to grow the youth group to an average of about 10 students or so within the first year. And whenever you have a small foundation to build off of, or in our case, it was very small. This step will take a lot of time and patience. And students care about being around those their age. And when that isn't the case, it makes it difficult to keep them on board. However, with the accomplishment of goal one, this will help fulfill goal two. Um, and and that's so true. If you are going after goal one, bringing young families into the church, that helps grow goal two, or it helps grow your youth ministry, right? And now, for me personally, I will be continuing to go to like sports events of the students that we do have, and this I'll also be opening my home, which I'm getting the keys Wednesday, which is great. But I'm going to be opening my home to students, and which is another thing that so the youth doesn't just have to meet here at the church; they can meet in my home as well, which is great. Um, but same with the first goal is the second goal. In order to help grow a youth ministry, you cannot expect all the work to be done by the youth pastor, or in our case, myself being the associate pastor. You cannot expect that one individual to do all the work. It just doesn't work that way. And here's the cool thing about youth ministry: the students that are in your youth group, they really do a lot of the work. They really do. Um, I've seen, well, for instance, like I've been, when I was in the youth group, we, we just exploded within a really short amount of time. And it wasn't because, really, it wasn't a lot. The youth pastor did a great job, right? But it really wasn't him going out and doing things. It was us. It was us students. And the funny thing is that if you get that into students' minds, they actually do it a lot better than the church as a whole. And so there's something that we can definitely learn from youth students that can impact our church as a whole. So I like I that to me I that is a huge encouragement to the church as a whole. How quickly and how committed students are to growing their ministry. It's really cool to see. Now, goal three is very specific, and this was one that I'm actually really, really excited about. I'm excited about all of them, right? But this one for sure, I'm excited about. and it's opening our church to internship opportunities. One of the blessings of being a part of a smaller church is the opportunity to pour into younger people that are interested in the ministry in some capacity. And what I mean by this is so for me personally, I started feeling the call to ministry in eighth grade. And what was cool was I was really kind of put into a place where I could I became a local missions intern pretty much right away, and I got to see some of the background of what it means to be a part of a church, what the church is, what it should be, and then what it means to work within a church as well. And that was a huge part of my walk through ministry, and I think this will be a great idea to have our church be in the same manner. Uh, and so over the next year, we will be looking at seniors in high school or students in college that have a background in music. Not only will they be a part of the worship ministry here at Broadman, but they will be working alongside Charlotte Moore, who is our worship director, leader, whatever you want to call it, and learning from her about worship in the church. And so it's not like they're just going to be thrown in there and just say, "Hey, just do your thing," and that's it. Like they're gonna be learning things about what does music in a church look like. What's the goal behind music in a church, and they'll be learning that. And they'll be watching and learning from Charlotte. They'll be learning from the folks that love music here at our church, and that's a really cool opportunity that we have. Um, and so this individual will preferably be wanting to have talent singing and playing an instrument of some kind. Uh, there's not really one specific instrument that we have in mind. Like they don't have to necessarily play the piano or the guitar, but we want them to we definitely want to make sure that they have the vocal ability, but they also have the instrument ability as well. And not only does this step give somebody else to add to our worship team, but as we just strive to get younger, goals 1 and 2, we're seeing someone young in worship will help to further that desire and vision. And really, what's cool is they will then let their friends know, hey, I am actually involved at my church with music. I would love for you guys not just come to hear me play, but to see the church that I'm at. And so, what a great opportunity that is. Um, but again, it's giving a young person the look behind the curtain at what a church is and being a part of it. And so I think that's a really cool idea. Step 4 or goal 4 is really exciting as well. And that is we are going to start introducing our church to young adult ministry. I'll explain that introducing thing in just a second. But one of the exciting things about our church is how many schools are in our area, and we have the great potential to really reach young adults. And this age demographic, though, is sadly looked past by most churches in our country today. But we have the great opportunity to help change that. And for me, it's sad because you see a lot of these churches that have these great youth programs, and yet when these students, let's say they get home from college, whether it's over the winter, whether it's over the summer, and or if they don't go to college and they go to like trade school or whatever they decide to do, it's sad to see that a lot of these churches that have great youth programs don't have really anything available for them once they graduate from high school. And so really they go from graduation of high school to, oh well, you have to go hang out with the adults. And a lot of the times those adult classes don't really have anybody in their age range. And so because of that, it can be a very lonely uh, time for them. And so churches that do have great young adult ministries, they are incredibly vital to their communities. And we want that to be the case here at Broadman. So that's why we're going to be starting to do this. So in the next year, we'll be reaching out to Bible Center organizations and colleges, inviting them to use our church or my own home to have their meetings. This gives them the chance to know who we are and that we are here for them. And I can tell you right now, from being on in leadership in organizations in college, I can tell you right now, meeting off of campus would have been a dream come true for us. Like, I mean, being on campus, yeah, that's where you're at, and it makes sense. But to be off of campus, if you can do that, what a blessing that is. So for me, I really want to make sure that we do that. Plus, we have here at Brown, we have a really great, uh, again, a smaller foundation, but a great foundation of young adults here. And when I say young adults, I'm talking about the moment they graduate from high school till kind of like their mid 30s or so. That to me is a young adult ministry. That's kind of how I would define that. So that step, or that goal, I'm really, really excited about. And then finally, goal 5, we just need to examine and possibly upgrade the vision and mission statement of the church. Because if you're trying to put together a vision plan without a vision statement, it's hard to do. So as leadership, we'll work on that goal, and that's going to be one of the things that we do hopefully hopefully the quickest. That's going to be one of the things that we do the fastest. Now that is the 1 year vision plan. There is a 5 year. It is very open to expansion at this point. We didn't go through this. We talked about it. We mentioned it, but we didn't go through it in detail yesterday here at Broadman. One, because of time, but also just because it can be so much. It can be expanded. So first things first. But in the next at the end of the next 5 years, we're looking for 20 young families to be members, to be part of our church. That's where we're going when it comes to our 5 year vision plan. Goal 2, when it comes to the youth group, you're looking about 30 to 40 students. And you're thinking to yourself, that seems a little bit low, especially if you're gunning for 10 in 1 year. True. But when it comes to youth ministry, it's all about what you're starting with, and then that will kind of dictate where you go. So if you start with a pretty decent foundation, you can really explode quite a bit. Whereas if you have a smaller foundation, you could still get there, right? Because we worship Jesus, but at the same time, you have to be realistic about it too. If you start with a smaller foundation, it just means that there's more work to do, which again, is not a bad thing. It just means there's more work to do. And so because of that, you have to adjust expectations. And so that's why we're thinking that 30, 40 range of students at the end of a 5th year from now. And then goal 3, the worship internship that we mentioned in the third goal in year 1, that is not something that we just want to do randomly just for 1 year. No, I want to continue this every single year. Every single semester, I want to have an intern at our church in worship. Now, obviously, things happen, and you may miss a semester, but I don't want to get to the point where this is just like a stopgap type of thing. It's like a band-aid, and then you just get back to what you're doing. No, I want this to be a part of what we do here at Broadman, and so that's where we're going with that. Just to continue that, make that a make that a part of who we are here at Broadman. And then goal 4 is continuing on with the young adult ministry. So here's what I mentioned earlier about the introduction. So year one for young adult ministry is just to introduce the church to the concept of young adult ministry, whereas years 2 through 5 is really giving, kind of like cementing it as part of what we do here at Broadman. It's giving them their own day in the week. It's giving them their own specific ministry that they can call their own. So we'll start to introduce it in the first year, but then we'll really cement it and build upon it years 2 through 5. And so that's kind of what we're thinking there. Goal 5 for the next 5 years, I would love to open our church to conferences for other churches in our area. Not only does this promote church unity with other churches in our area, within our association, but it also gives us the chance to meet other church leaders, and then if they have church members that are moving closer to us, or they are just looking at a different church, they can say, hey, I've been to this church called Broadman, and they know us, and they can pass along that information to these members that are looking to move on, or looking to go closer, to get to a church that's closer to home, because that is definitely the case. Especially right now with the gas prices being what they are, nobody's wanting to drive a lot, and I'm one of those, right? So it's that, to me, is part of the 5 year plan, and again, the 5 year plan is, we can expand on this so much more with the 5 year plan. So I'm really excited to see where this goes, where the Lord takes us, and that's the thing with this, the 1 year and the 5 year plan. That's the thing with us. Yes, it has a lot to do with our church, and it has a lot to do with the growth of our church. But at the end of the day, everything that we do here at Brownman is for the glory of Christ and to spread His gospel. So every single goal that we have in mind, at the base of it, is to spread the gospel to others and to show them who Jesus is and why they should follow Him. And so, for that being said, I'm excited to see where Jesus takes us here at Broadman. However, again, I just have to reiterate this: we need your help. We need your help to get behind this vision plan, to commit to it, and to really work at it, because we will be working at it as leadership, but we need your help. We need the whole entire congregation behind this, and I'm excited to see where the Lord takes us. And so, with that being said, thank you for spending a little bit of your time today with me as we went through the 1 year and a little bit of the 5 year vision plan for Broadman Baptist Church, and I'm excited to see what the Lord has for us. So, thanks for spending time with me, and I will see you later. Thanks.